Kitco News special coverage of the 31st Global Metals and Mining Conference is brought to you by Gold Terra.
Hello and welcome to Kitco News with me, Paul Harris. We're at the BMO Metals and Mining Conference in Florida in the United States. Today we're talking about junior gold and junior gold in the United States. I'm joined by Hugh Agro, President and CEO of Revival Gold. Good morning, Hugh.
Great to be here, Paul.
Hugh, Revival Gold has a gold development project in Idaho, the Beartrack-Arnett project. You've had a pretty good and pretty racy start to the year in many ways. You've raised 10 million Canadian. You've brought in a new big, significant institutional investor. You've had some excellent drill results, Haiti, that are expanding the oxide potential there. And if that's not all, you've brought on Tim Warman. You've strengthened your board by bringing in Tim Warman. Must be very pleased with how things have gone so far in 2022.
Yeah, and it's only February, just March. Listen, we ended the year last year with a fantastic drill hole, BT 240, where we intersected 14 meters of 9 grams and another 12 meters of 12 grams in our Jost target area. So we're getting high grade. Now with 18 drill holes with 7.3 grams per ton gold over a kilometer strike, the addition of Tim Warman, the financing with Donald Smith behind us, a great start to the year, absolutely.
So let's talk a bit more about the drilling. As you mentioned, the drilling results last year, the Haiti results this year, the drilling seems to be getting better and better, which suggests that your geological team seems to be getting a better and better understanding of the deposit, the geology, the controls, and where to find more.
Yeah, and that's the secret sauce, right? Once you get to understand the system and target the areas of interest, that's when you really start to produce from the drill bit. We did take a step with Mira Geoscience last year. We brought them in to do a full three-dimensional model and the artificial intelligence, the machine learning application, and that's really opened up some interesting aspects to the project as well. Credit to our team. We are finding more mineralization through the drill bit.
Okay, so you mentioned Jost continues to expand, but also Haiti, the oxide resource there, you continue to sort of going deeper and stepping out. So a lot of potential there. So what's the drilling program for this year? How are you going to sort of follow those up?
Yeah, well, first step will be an updated resource, and we'll be coming out with that in another month or so. And then we'll get back into drilling, probably start in May. And we're just working on the final touches of the program this year. It'll be a combination of RC and core drilling. We've got a number of target areas beyond our Haiti oxide project area where we want to be in with fresh drilling. And then we also want to be back into that Jost area that I spoke about earlier, where we've got that high grade, we've got that kilometer of strike, and we just keep hitting it. Every hole that's been through the Panther Creek Shear Zone has hit mineralization.
Okay, you're also working on a pre-feasibility study. You've got oxide, you've got sulfides. What's the thinking about how you can take the project forward? What's the best way? What's the best approach?
Well, look, if you step back, when we formed Revival Gold some 4.5 years ago, gold price was well down from where we are today. Political risk was really not an issue. Today, we're in the United States. We've got a $1,900 gold price. And our view of this thing is to try and minimize capital, begin to produce gold, and then continue to grow in a long life potential mill scenario at Beartrack-Arnett. This is the Australian model of doing things. This is not common in the North America scene, but we want to start with a low capital, restart from existing infrastructure, and then build from there.
So initially, that sounds like the initial approach will be to heap leach the oxide, generate cash flow there, and then using that cash flow to get the sulfide mill into development.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as we think about where the market is right now, risk adverse, this is the time to be being cautious about how much capital you put into an initial phase of a project and develop as you go. We still think we've got a meaningful project here, about 70,000 ounces a year from a heap leach operation on an existing brownfield site and in the wonderful state of Idaho. So this is domestic, lots of talent and expertise to bring to bear, and low geopolitical risk.
Okay, we are very much in an inflationary environment, and some other companies that have recently put out economic studies that have reflected that inflationary environment with higher capex, higher opex. Some of those have been punished quite hard. What is your approach there? How can you manage that? How can you minimize the impact of inflation?
Well, the first thing to know is when we do these studies, we don't use spot gold prices. We use a gold price that's reflective of the general trend and the general setting. And I'd say the same thing about cost inflation. Yes, we're in a very inflationary period right now, but I think in the long term, things will be a little more stable. Now, what are we doing about it? Well, the thing that most explorer developers like to do, finding more gold. Find more gold, find higher grade gold, and the costs will look after themselves.
Okay, thank you, Hugh. Now, we're at the BMO Metals and Mining event, an investor event. What kind of reception as a junior gold explorer developer are you getting? Is the market starting to warm up to sort of development stage companies?
Yeah, I'd say, look, it's absolutely essential that we have exploration and development to feed the pipeline for these bigger companies that are attending the conference. And so there is a need for explorer developers like Revival Gold to deliver up projects into the pipeline. And we can see it in the transactions that have taken place. Kinross Gold spending $1.8 billion for a company that is just new off the mark. But we're seeing lots of examples of that. And it's just because the pipeline is empty. And we're seeing lots of interest in what we're doing. It is more disciplined, no question about that, both from the corporate side and from the institutions, but there's lots of interest.
Okay, the BMO marketing team here has talked about some of the key themes that they've picked up on at the event. And one of those is that investors are getting more comfortable with the concept of inorganic growth, easing up on the capital discipline, giving CEOs the green light, so to speak, to enter into M&A again. With Revival Gold and Beartrack-Arnett shaping up, building the resource, advancing, do you feel you've potentially got a target on your back?
Well, listen, the seniors don't have a choice. They're always digging themselves into holes. And so absolutely, M&A is part of the solution. Inorganic growth is part of the solution. We don't look at in our rear view mirror and worry about what might be coming from behind. What we do is chart a good path, do the quality work, and the rest of it will look after itself.
Okay, thank you very much, Hugh. So with the PFS coming out later this year, that's obviously the key goal, I imagine, this year, the key catalyst. Going forward, how would you like to see Revival Gold grow and develop over the next 2 to 5 years?
Well, look, we want to be Idaho's first new gold producer, and so we're working towards that direction. We've got the resource update coming. We'll be back drilling PFS by the end of the year. Steps beyond that will be determined in early 23, but we see a great potential here. We're in a welcoming state of Idaho. We've got the team, we've got the capability, and we've got the financial backing, 40% institutionally held, and that gives us a lot of strength to make it to the next level, which is gold production, and ultimately developing out that larger potential in the project. We see potential on this project for better than 5 million ounces, and that can be a meaningful gold producer for significant institutional investors and corporates alike.
Thank you, Hugh. One thing we haven't touched on yet is ESG. Beartrack-Arnett is a former producing site, and you've got some legacy infrastructure there. So presumably that is a big leg up in certain aspects of the ESG equation.
It sure is. We've got a fantastic reputation from our prior predecessor operators. Great track record to be working from, but we're vigilant, and it's an important aspect of the game. And as some of the speakers have said here in the last couple of days, the mining industry has always done a good job of working with their communities, rewarding their communities for the success of their operations. We've just got to do a better job of telling people about that. In the case of Beartrack-Arnett, both state and federal awards, a welcoming local population, a very supportive state government, and we have the team that's focused on doing the right thing by our community.
Okay, well, I just want to follow up a little bit there. And you mentioned that mining companies, developers need to do a better job of saying what they're doing and what the benefits are. And in that regard, I think it was last year you commissioned and put out an economic study of what the impact of the project is likely to be to the local community. Very few companies actually do that. Why do you think that is, and what has been the benefit for Revival Gold from doing that?
Well, listen, we want to communicate that our stakeholders, not just our shareholders, but all stakeholders will benefit from this project. And that's essential to our social license to operate. And so, yes, we went out and commissioned a study by a professor from the University of Idaho. We're showing job creation. We're showing tax production. We're showing the benefits in terms of training and in terms of building skill sets in rural areas of Idaho where otherwise there wouldn't be that opportunity. And we take pride in that activity. We take pride in what we can do for the community.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing the pre-feasibility study as and when that comes out later this year. Hugh Agro, President and CEO of Revival Gold, thank you very, very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Kitco.
Stay tuned for more from Kitco News at the BMO Metals and Mining Conference.
Kitco News special coverage of the 31st Global Metals and Mining Conference is brought to you by Gold Terra,